Hi, welcome to Aloud with Mary. Today we're reading a novel by Joshua Gens called A Different Perspective. Permission granted by Joshua Gens. The Hunt. Come to my blade, the druid whispered between breaths. The man crouched, patiently waiting for his prey to charge through the undergrowth. A few seconds passed. Nothing. All that could be heard were the distant birds chirping, calling to their lovers when they would be ready to leave in search of a warmer place where the ground was not frost. The druid strained his neck, risking the microscopic movement for information on the creature's whereabouts. A twig snapped in the opposite direction. However, the man knew better than to break his field of vision. He knew the creature's tricks, as it had worked on his parents, and he had learned from their mistakes. A hellhound burst from the undergrowth and vines, igniting the leaves as it passed the shivering trees. The druid fully expected the charge as he waited until the demon came within inches of his skin. He launched himself into the air, nimbly dodging his attacker, and as the result, the monster crashed headfirst into the trunk of the jungle tree, setting fire to the great oak. While the demon was dazed, the druid sought its chance and slashed his bardiche across the demon's back. The hellhound cried in pain as flames spilled out of its middle mouth, melting a hole right through the tree, creating an escape route from the druid's blade. The demon quickly squeezed through the trunk and kicked the rest of the tree in the direction of its attacker. The druid, having been raised in these woods, effortlessly sidestepped the oncoming oak. The hellhound, bleeding from its back, frothed at the mouth for revenge as it leapt onto the druid while spouting flames from its side heads. The druid, having experience in combat, brought his bardiche within inches of his face and dropped to his back. The hellhound, being so induced with rage, couldn't visualize its prey, and at the cost of its blind anger, glided right above the druid, cutting its stomach against the blade of the bardiche in the process. The demon stumbled across the clearing, setting the grass and frost into a sizzling smoke. The demon, now intensely bleeding from both the back and underside, coughed a cloud of smoke as dark as the demon's soul, engulfing the area around the druid and the hellhound. Feeling uneasy, the druid leapt into the trees to try to escape the cloud of ash, but to no avail. He closed his eyes and listened. He listened for every sound audible within a 30-yard radius. His father had trained him to sense the world around him without the guidance of his eyesight, which came in handy for feeling at one with nature. He listened and heard heartbeats. The beats of squirrels inside the cavern above him, embedded within the tree. He heard the hearts of the ant colony at the base of the oak. The druid strained his concentration onto one sound, the blood dripping from the wounds underneath the hellhound. The druid found the source of the sound with only a second to spare as the hellhound leapt underneath the branch and the druid was perched upon it. The druid's reaction was too slow, and one of the demon's heads made contact with the man's leg, sinking its teeth into the flesh. The man cringed but kept silent, fearing he would attract more of the demon's kin from the sounds of his crying. The hellhound swung its prey in mid-air, changing the direction of their course directly into the cloud of ash. Not wanting to lose its next meal, the demon followed the druid, with its fangs still embedded into his calf. The druid tumbled onto the burnt ground, with the devil dog following suit. As soon as the paws were between the ground and its stomach, the demon lunged with another head onto the bicep of the man. The druid, feeling his life draining away, recentered himself, ignoring the teeth embedded within his flesh, and gripped his ranseur dangling from his belt and thrust the blade into the devil dog's neck with his free hand. The hellhound could not be so easily injured, as it parried the blade with ease and its middle head, throwing the weapon out of reach with both parties. The middle head stared at the druid, its eyes like flaming pits from the depths of its home, its mouth frothed with drops of magma leaking between the teeth that were white as the moon. The fog cleared, making the rest of the beast's features visible. The dog's skin was scorched so dark that it gave the illusion of looking into the very depths of Tartarus. The skin looked one strain short of being ripped open by the abundance of muscles that lie underneath the surface. The creature's back met up in the middle with a bone lining it, starting at the base of its neck and ending at the tip of its 4-foot tail, with the exception of the gash made from the bardiche that cut the bone midway down the back. The demon stood 10 feet from the ground and 20 from tail to snout. The druid met its gaze, and for the first few moments, time stopped. The birds froze in the air, flocking to escape the battlefield. The leaves ceased to burn. And the heartbeats of the squirrels didn't dare to sound. As with the world ceasing to exist, the druid accepted the inevitable and closed his eyes for the last time and laid his head upon the scorched earth. The hellhound's dominant head dove for the throat. Join us for the next installation of Aloud with Mary, where we will continue to read a novel by Joshua Gans called A Different Perspective.